morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone present here based on the timings. And I'm very delighted to introduce our chief guest of this keynote session, Anubha Prasad. And this is even though this is a very short profile, it is to be noted by all of us. So Anubha Prasad is an electrical engineer, completed in PIT Sindri and her MBA in MDI Gurgaon and NTS Scholar and a certified associate of Indian Institute of Bankers. Anubha has had a long stint at Small Industries Development Bank of India, and she is now only 23 plus. Yeah, and she held key positions in general manager heading it's Chandigarh, Noida and Jaipur offices, and she is a team leader at SIDBI's Sustainable Finance and International Cooperation Vertical, and it's a central loan processing cell. Right. Apart from leading SDBI's core business of MSME, financial and development, she's like credit delivery, impact investing, and we know that she's successfully managed many projects of World Bank and European Union and other international multilaterals. Wow. Has also mentored hundreds of first generation women entrepreneurs at the bottom of pyramid, to make just a few. Yeah. So in the year 2018 to 20, Anubha took a sabbatical from SIDBI and joined the UN Environment as its national coordinator, heading its green economy and sustainable finance verticals. A thought leader, Anubha had held board-level positions in several government companies, and it's presently on the Energy Advisory Board of World Resources Institute, India. Great, ma'am. She is a visiting faculty and jury at business incubators at several B schools. This is to be noted very well to all of you, right? So coming from Bihar, Anubha has this dream and passion of becoming a change agent for Bihar through what she knows best in nurturing entrepreneurship and creating employment opportunities. She has been working on different causes like education, livelihood to artisans and weavers, counseling prospective entrepreneur, etc. And she has co-founded the Vintage Weaves, a social startup for helping women artisans of Bihar through aggregation and e-commerce. Superb, ma'am. The migrant crisis witnessed during the COVID lockdown brought the livelihood issues confronting states like Bihar and Jharkhand to the fore. She worked for getting the migrant workers home safely with dignity. Shaken out her comfort zone, she is now leading an angel fund incubator for Bihar's enterprises and startups to make underdeveloped states like Bihar count in the startup ecosystem of India. Her two boys are at Columbia and Cornell University respectively, and to say in a very happy manner, she loves to write prose and poetry in her free time. We welcome you, ma'am. The session is yours now. Thank you. Over to Pooja.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Anubha, ma'am, you're on mute. Okay, let me just close. Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're clearly audible to us. You can please proceed. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So, thanks for this very wonderful introduction and in superlatives and your exclamations also, I really loved it. Thanks to IEEE YESIST12 2020 Innovation Challenge team and Pooja in particular for considering me for this session, which is a very important session on building startups. A lot of things have been told about me and my introduction. So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from whatever time zones you are joining. Thank you so much for having me here. Startups, entrepreneurship is a topic which is very close to my heart. And we all know that we have come to live in very interesting times. So we've recently seen the elections and the contentions in the United States of America, and similarly elections happening in Bihar. People have voted for change, not sure for US for sure, Bihar not too sure as of now. But then there are issues which are very close to our heart. And one of these issues are, how to bring down the economic disparities. And I guess startups have done a great service over here, because startups are a great leveler. They have been the engines through which India's growth has been propelled to a large extent. And they've been able to drive the change in a lot of geographies which were underserved geographies as of now. So who would have thought that something like Flipkart or something like an Ola or an Oyo Rooms or a Paytm will change the way we live, we shop, and the way we kind of meet our basic needs. So startups have been a great change driver, and to me, it is one subject, startups and entrepreneurship and the spirit of entrepreneurship. That's a very, very dear cause. And I do believe that through this change, we are going to make those underserved geographies, which have been hitherto untouched by the winds of change, the part of the India growth story. So thanks again. I'll just give a brief background of the institution that I am presenting. So I was with SIDBI for 23 years. I kind of helped and mentored a lot of entrepreneurs. I was also with a lot of several incubators, including in IIMs and all. And I also helped startups and conventional MSMEs, not only through funding and credit delivery, but also through mentoring. And again, as part of a team which I led of SIDBI women executives, we mentored more than 500 women entrepreneurs, which were at the bottom of the pyramid at the grassroots level. So from SIDBI, I joined UN Environment, looking after economy and finance, and other things, sustainable finance, which is again a cause which is very dear to my heart. And then this COVID came. We had never thought of that we'll live to see this kind of great disruption in our lives. And then lockdown happened. And during the lockdown, we saw that the economy was hit, the livelihoods were hit. And a lot of people, who were daily wage earners, who were earning their daily breads on everyday basis, they had to reverse migrate to the geographies from where they had originally migrated in search of livelihoods. So this came as a huge shaker of the conscience, and we saw that why it is in the first place that certain geographies are completely bereft of opportunities, and people have to actually leave their homes, leave their families, and go to the places to earn a basic livelihood. So with this thought, I and three of my co-founders of Karekeba Ventures. Yes, please.
I'm sorry to interrupt in between, but the PPT is being halfly being shown. Could you please move on to full screen?
I'll do that. Is it better now?
Yes, it's better, ma'am. Thank you.
Sorry for that inconvenience. So I, with three of my co-founders, we started Karekeba. And Karekeba is a Bhojpuri word, and Bhojpuri is supposed to be the lingua franca of the labor class across India. It is identified with your, sabzi wala, your doodh wala, your vendor, your security person, like that. So Karekeba means we must do it, come what may. And that was the spirit behind Karekeba. And the idea was that since we know about entrepreneurship and in some way or the other, we've been associated with this, so let us nurture, handhold and mentor the entrepreneurs from the underserved states, from where the most of migration is happening, which is Bihar, which is Jharkhand, which is Eastern UP, which is Odisha. So these kind of states. And let us also provide them a platform from where they can reach out to the investors. So Karekeba is Bihar's first professional incubator cum seed fund facilitator. We call on everyone, all the well-wishers, to join us in the pursuit of a developed Bihar. And Bihar, when I say Bihar, it actually denotes all the underserved geographies which have not shared the fruits of development of India or have not been the part of the India growth story. So we invest in passionate people with sustainable business models. We curate and incubate early stage startups. We provide them access to world-class mentors, and I'm very happy to share with you that extremely accomplished mentors from all walks of life have joined this movement to provide mentorship and advisory to the startups from Bihar, Jharkhand, etc. We do individual handholding and strategic advice, and we also provide them pitching opportunities in front of platforms. So we are nurturing them with access to pre-series A funding. So it's not only about investment and mentoring, because when we are curating the startups, social impact and livelihood generation, these are the two things which are foremost on our minds. So all our curated startups will have to have an impact on these two very important indicators, social impact and livelihoods. So this is the process: select, curate, and promising startups, incubation, dedicated business advisory, help in legal, HR, marketing, strategy, etc. And then based on their performance, we provide them option to pitch to the investors who can, invest directly in those startups and help them scale up their impact. So when we talk of startups, so my presentation is titled "How to Start Up." So many of us think that it is all about, a very powerful idea. So you wake up one fine morning and you say that, okay, I'm having this wonderful idea and I'm going to do a startup and I'm going to make a lot of money out of it. And then probably I'll get a very good valuation. Even if the startup is not making profit, we'll get a very good valuation. We have the examples of, Flipkart and other startups with us who haven't been able to turn around, haven't been able to do profits, but still get a very good valuation, a cool $1 billion valuation, become a unicorn, and this idea will take us through. This is only very, very partially correct. So it is, the idea versus execution debate which comes in here. So we have seen this very interesting campaign, What an Idea Sarji. But this is beyond what an idea Sarji. So ideas are important, but an innovation is the key. Power of an incredible idea is undisputed. However, it is the timing and the execution which drives the value, which holds the key. Execution is a serious ball game. It has many facets. These facets, some of them are a differentiator. Differentiator could be in product. Differentiator could be in process, timing, market access. So what is the exact problem that you are trying to solve? Sustained performance, a very good team, a sustainable marketing strategy, and the resilience. And resilience has become very important as we've seen the recent times when COVID hit, and only those companies or those business models which had a very, very resilient strategy, a resilient business model, have been able to perform and thrive. So, if we talk about a roadmap to success, so there is no one size fits all approach. So it all starts with an idea, germination of a very strong and powerful, thought process. So ideation, of course, identify the problem and a powerful solution. However, it has to be backed by a strong market research. There's a possibility that the idea that you have come up with, it's already there, or somebody has done it in a more powerful manner, in a better manner. So you have to do a strong market research. You have to, of course, build teams because you can't do everything alone. You have to test your idea, analyze the results very critically. You have to be your own devil's advocate. You have to define your ideal customer profile because you have to find out who's the person whom you are trying to reach out to, who's a person who's trying to pay you in lieu of your business idea. So then the strategy means how are you going to reach to your ideal customer profile? Then a strong marketing pitch. You have to leverage technology continuously, and technology is it's become the main differentiator these days. So if you're very strong on technology, you can actually do wonders. And continuous iteration and improvement, which is the key. And all successful businesses have this model of continuous improvements. Slide. It's almost stuck, not sure. Pooja, can you run the PPT for me?
Yes, sure, ma'am. Just a minute.
I guess it is stuck at some point.
Yeah, no problem. Yes.
You can just come to the slide number 3 or 4. So while Pooja fixes this, let me give you certain examples. So you must have seen several businesses who were kind of unthinkable a few years back. And you had investors like, even Warren Buffett saying that he could not identify the power of something which was, intangible. And we've seen many intangible businesses. So I was seeing this interview of Ritesh Agrawal. He's the youngest unicorn startup owner, which is the Oyo Rooms. And he did this at an age of 19 and to drive this unicorn. And one of the TV interviews, he said that I identified the gap as lack of predictability when people go out, especially ladies or the vulnerable groups, when they go out and on a tour or in a business tour or on a tourism thing, and they don't find any predictable or solution for their night stays, which is safe, which has minimum basic facilities. So that was a huge gap. And come to think of it, Ritesh not only borrowed something from Airbnb, he actually customized it to a solution for India, and he actually built something which is very, very relevant for India. And that was a very strong problem statement, which was matched by an equally strong idea. Next slide, Pooja, please. Yes. So, thing is that it's okay to, I guess, Pooja, you've jumped a few slides. The next one, yes. So, it is okay to fail. It is okay to fail when you are doing a startup, because it is something which is an uncharted territory. It's a new thing. It is something which hasn't been tested, or it has been tested in a different manner. So even if you lose, don't lose the lesson. That's the biggest, bottom line. So what can be learned? It is fine to fail, but if you fail, if at all, fail fast. Look for the pain points, something which made your business to fail. Very important thing is you have to fall in love with the problem, not with the solutions. So more often than not, it happens that startup founders are kind of obsessed with the solutions that they are providing. And they just, lose the sight of the bigger picture, because they actually started with a problem and they've lost the sight of that problem, and they are now continuously talking about their own solution. So you have to fall in love with the problem, not with the solution. You question everything. Don't accept this is how everyone does it as an answer. Think global from day one. And when I say global, it is not only global markets, because not every startup has a business model around a global market. But think about, global strategies. Think about global learnings. Think about, again, global market as well, if you are in that ball game. So it will be good to learn from the mistakes of others. The crux is that it will be good to learn from the mistakes of others rather than making your own mistakes. Although it is not always possible, it is easier said than done. But then it is always good to see to read more and more, to look at the literature, to look at the precedents, the examples, and then learn from them. Next, Pooja. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the success rate, and which looks scary. So when I say success, it is $2 million revenue companies, and it's an example from the US, which is the most thriving startup ecosystem. And among the top 10 of startup ecosystems, I guess 9 are from the US and 1 is from Israel. So 1 in 1265 companies in US succeed. And this is the success rate, which is, because the startups, few will do very well, and that number is very, very small. However, most of them are bound to fail. Next. This is the general life cycle that we talk about. So when we see here the value of death, which is, the failure zone, the startups don't kind of actually start, but then they are not able to scale up. However, this phase is generally, when you talk about the financing cycle, this is the family, friends, and angels, and your own bootstrap seed capital, which sees you through this phase. The second stage comes when your idea is validated, you have a proof of concept, and you are, raring to go. So that's the early stage wherein venture capitals, acquisitions, mergers, and strategic alliance, they hold the key. And if you see the curve, this is for a startup which is done well. It's a general startup curve. However, there will be many more ups and downs in this. This is a normalized kind of a curve. The later stage, you'll get mezzanine funding. And then probably if you are really able to scale up, it will be the IPO stage. Next, Pooja. So most of the, unicorn startups that we say, they are past their second stage. Back. Yep. Yes. So next. So we often think that it is, the funding which drives the startup. However, it's a huge misnomer. Last slide, I guess. So what is important then? Because funding is, Pooja, I guess you have to go 2 slides back. You've jumped slides. Yes, this is the one. So this is a misconception that fundraise is very important for startups. We think that this is, if you've raised the fund, you've done your job and you are on the way to succeed as an innovator or as a founder. That's not correct. Very important, the top 5 factors in success is, the first one is timing. What is the timing of your idea? Your team and your execution capacity on the ground. Idea, truth, outlier. When I say this, I mean that your idea may sound very good to you, but your moment of truth has to come wherein your idea has to be actually validated by a bigger market. So if there's a gap there, then the startup is bound to fail. Business model, and lastly, out of the 5 topmost factors, it is the funding due to which startups succeed or fail. Next. So what is important? Important is a large accessible market. It is possible that your startup's first customer is your mom or your brother, but they should not be your only customer. So a large accessible market, a sustainable massive differentiation which you are providing or your idea is providing, and a stellar team. Stellar team because it's a team which actually sees the execution through at the ground. And a team is required because one person cannot have core competences in all kinds of domain, be it technology, be it hiring, be it operations. So you need to have a stellar team which has a mix of which has to have a mix of all these talents. Next. So what can you do better? Step 1, as I said earlier as well, effective market research. Step 2, collaborative teamwork, very important. Step 3, digital marketing. So when I say digital marketing, it is, I'm singling it out because this has become an excellent and very big reach out strategy for most of the startups. Correct price point, because you have to be in tune with the market, and this price has to be, this has to be a good price for you and a good price for your market. And of course, complementary benefits that you're going to provide to your ideal customer. Next. So these are the 5 important steps which any startup has to keep in mind. So, and when I say the market research, because this is something I really put a lot of emphasis on while handholding my startups or giving advices. So ideal customer profile, who are you selling to? It is possible that you have a different kind of customer profile in your mind, but it is also possible that that's not your ideal customer profile, it is something else. So data has to be there for validating your ideal customer profile. Without data or without research, it is not possible. It can't run on, perception or subjective judgments. The value proposition, what is the benefit the customer will get from your product or service? What is unique? What is your differentiator about your offering? Go-to-market channel, what is the best, most effective way? Like the other day, I was talking to a startup which has something which is a very visual thing in content. And that startup made a huge mistake of, spending a lot of money on radio marketing. So the FM radio marketing. So when you have some visual contents to market and you are relying on a radio, that's a mistake. So there was no conversion from their radio marketing. most of their marketing came from social media marketing as well as the hoardings, even the hoardings, but not the radio. So that's the channel. So you have to kind of identify the channel which is the most effective one to reach your ideal customer. And not only effective, it has to be cost effective as well. Then unit economic. What is the profitability of serving each customer? So you have to have this number in mind, because when you are scaling up, this number has to come down. And then when you actually scale up, then your fixed costs have to remain at one level, and your recurring costs, they have to come down continually with each customer. Next slide, please. So yeah, so I will also talk about the new normal, because we all have been talking about how COVID has affected our lives. And so, as I said, that only those companies which were very resilient to start with and which had a very resilient business model in terms of, the disruptions, they had the capacity to absorb the shocks. So that's one thing. Resilience is one thing. However, there's another thing that nobody was prepared for this shock. In fact, nobody had foreseen that the world will come to a standstill and that we'll start living in a different way altogether. So there were certain sectors which were bound to, get some shocks. For example, physical entertainment or travel and mobility. However, there are certain sectors which have actually done well. So why I added this slide, just to give an idea that this new normal is going to be there for a while with us. This is going to be something which will become used to and habituated with, and then we won't be really do away with this entire paradigm. So just look at this rise in consumption of at-home categories. People are doing 54% more home cooking and 22% more home improvement. So you might have seen a surge of recipes and such small businesses who are actually giving you advice on fitness, home fitness and cooking, etc. on Facebook or on Instagram. So they've really done well. 54% more home cooking, 20% more home improvement. Shopping, of course, physical shopping has taken a big hit, and there is little hope that it will revive anytime soon. However, Diwali is going to be somewhat a sucker for these physical shoppings. So e-commerce saw 10 years of growth in just 3 months. Preferences for trusted brands, wherein you are sure about the quality and your price. It's cost effective thing, and it is economic to have that. So shopping, home shopping. Entertainment, Netflix added 16 million subscribers in 5 months, while Disney doubled theirs to 50 million. Health and well-being, of course, self-care became very, very important concern. And you've seen people going for immunity boosters. So, and you must have seen a plethora of ads over social media about health and well-being products, like not only immunity boosters, but also about, fitness, also about, skincare and hair care and all that. So this segment saw a big boost. Work, of course, there was rise in unemployment and there was remote working. However, there was a big surge in those platforms which are providing a remote working opportunity. So Zoom's user base grew from 10 million to 200 million in 3 months. Then, of course, learning, again, schools went online. Physical schools were actually closed, and there are a few startups, I know of them personally, who were relying on, kids actually attending schools. So there was a startup I know of which was kind of providing a business solution for kids going to school, tracking of, school buses and tracking of their safety. So those kind of startups, they kind of vanished because the business model was entirely driven by, actual physical movement of children to school. So, but we have different kind of paradigm here. Zoom's user base has grown from 10 million to 200 million in 3 months, and different kind of platforms, like even if you talk about Cisco, on which we are talking this very fine afternoon, and Cisco, apart from Cisco, it is, Microsoft Teams or Google Meets, all these platforms have seen a surge. However, you must have heard of Skype. Skype was the first mover in this segment. So where do we see Skype now? Have you seen any movement in Skype? Not to that extent, because Skype, although it had a first mover advantage, could not leverage this, the pandemic situation to its benefit. And somehow we don't see Skype, too many meetings on Skype now, rather than other platforms which have been able to evolve, which have been able to reinvent themselves and provide solutions. And they've done it very, very quickly. So that's the key actually. So work, of course, remote working, learning, the global user base for remote learning grew by 120%, so more than double. Virtual learning is driving adoption of new tools. So we saw White Hat Junior, we saw Byju's, and we saw other platforms providing learning solutions. Even certain social startups like Khan Academy, which did really well, which were able to increase their user base. Even in college education globally, either the learn from home model or hybrid model has been in place, and all the platforms and all the solutions for these kind of learning have done really, really well. Travel and mobility, we all know that tourism is grounded, with air travel declined 90%, and on-the-go consumption also declined. So travel and mobility has declined, and it is going to be down for a while now because that's a new normal. And we all have kind of, we've discovered the benefits in doing the things done without any physical travel. So we are attending more remote meetings, we are doing more remote learnings, and we are even for tourism, because tourism is again a segment which is dependent on the overall well-being of economy. So it will take a while to recover. Of course, there will be a cyclical growth in this also. Again, media consumption. Now, I guess almost all the homes in middle class India have access to OTT content providers like Amazon Prime or Netflix. Again, we are reading less physical newspapers and more online news. We are watching more television. We are using more social media. In fact, one of my friends who has this very thriving platform for startup investments, she told me that on a lighter vein that we are COVID positive. Because what has happened is that during COVID time, most of the people are staying home and they have a lot of time on their hands because they're not commuting. So they are kind of more time at their hands, and they are using that time to research, to invest, and to diversify their portfolios. So that's how she said that we are actually COVID positive. So these are a few changes which are going to be there for a while, and it is for the startups to make the most of it, because startups have to be very nimble. The response time has to be very small. It is not like a large corporation which is hierarchical, which has a lot of inertia. So startups with their inherent nimble structure, with their less response time, they can really leverage this as an opportunity and enter the new businesses which are very relevant and which can be iterated and continued. So and improved. So that's the whole crux of the matter in the new normal. Next slide, please, Pooja. So that practically brings me to the end of this presentation. You see that these are innovation is nothing new. Innovation has been there for many years, from the when we discovered the fire, or when we discovered the wheel. We invented the wheel, not discovered. So innovation has been there. So just see, Albert Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So you have to approach these problems through a different thought process and through a different approach, different, a different paradigm. So the entire narrative has to change around these problems, which we created using the same thinking. Marie Forleo, never start a business just to make money, start a business to make a difference. And when you're making a difference, it is not entirely a social thing that I'm talking about. You are making a difference in different kind of patterns that you see in everybody's life. And it's when you're making a difference, then you are automatically poised to make money out of it. Thomas Edison, 200 years back, he said that there is a way to do it better. Find out. Steve Jobs, the guru of all innovators. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. And the top, saying, stay hungry, stay foolish. That is also said by Steve Jobs only. Our own Narayan Murthy, he brought a paradigm shift in how we see the IT industry in India, the IT-enabled services, the software industry. So as long as the engine of innovations are alive, they attract the best talent, the leadership will continue to be with them. Elon Musk, a very well-respected innovator, is a pioneer in electric vehicles, pioneer in solar and so many other things. Failure is an option. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. So these are a few of the innovators and founders who have really been, even scientists, Einstein for that matter, who have really been inspiring us all this while. So again, my message to those who are desirous of moving into this field, in the field of startups, stay hungry, stay foolish, because there are innovations all around. You have to find out the right innovation, the right idea, and again, execution is the key. You have to execute it properly. So validate your idea, have a proof of concept, and then when you are doing the on-the-ground execution, you have to do it with certain capacities which you have to build. And then, of course, sky is the limit for you. So thank you so much, Pooja. I guess I'll be very happy to take questions from the audience, if any. This is my Karekebaz coordinates. I guess the presentation will be shared with all of you. So if at all you are planning to do something this side, we are there to help you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the great presentation. Now, let's move on to the Q&A part. So I request the participants, if you have any questions, you can please comment in the chat box.
So I was in a session yesterday. While we wait for the questions to come, I was in a session yesterday, and the host asked the question that what is the timeline you think a startup needs for succeeding? And there were different kind of answers, from 1 year to 5 years to 6 years. However, thing is that there is no fixed timeline for a startup to succeed. But in general, in India, we've seen that it is 4 to 5 years timeline, which sees a startup through its validation of its business model, execution, and then actually when they start making a difference. Do we have any questions, Pooja? I can see something in chat.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just checking over here. So, does anyone have any question? Saurabh Soni?
So, Pooja, if you have any questions, just go ahead and shoot.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. So, can you just tell us, like, is it good to start any of the entrepreneurship on partnership, or is it fine, like, if we start it alone?
Let me tell you that there are several legal models or legal structures that are available. Proprietorship is a big no-no. You should start either as a limited liability partnership or as a company, especially if you are aiming for VC funding, venture capital funding, you have to go with a private limited company. So that not only brings a team with you, there's a team. Also, this is from the legal angle, this is most conducive. This kind of a constitution is entity that's most conducive for raising VC money, or for dilution of your stakes and getting new shareholders on board, etc. There are by the government. Government of India defines them as a business which is less than 7 years old and which is not yet making 100 crore. However, there are definitions of states as well. For example, in Bihar, the definition is not more than 10 years old and not more than 25 crore revenues. And there are different kind of benefits or incentives for the startups across India, under Startup India, across different states. Some states are very energetic and they have a very robust ecosystem. So they are providing a lot of incentives for the startups. So they range from concessions. They range from no compliance requirement. You can do self-certification and move ahead. They also range from reimbursement of your certain expenditure, like for patent and the legal structure and that kind of stuff. And also a seed money grant. Most of the states provide, and even the central government, provides a seed money grant or a returnable loan for 10 years, which is 10 lakhs in Bihar, 20 lakhs in Jharkhand, like that. So there are a host of benefits available for startups. Another thing is that for Government of India, a startup is a startup when a legal structure comes in place. So if you have already incorporated a company, then you can apply under Startup India. However, in certain states, like in Bihar, even if you are at an ideation stage, you can apply for a startup registration and the benefits associated with it.
That's really interesting. Thank you for answering it very briefly. And what's your thought on offline startup and offline startup?
Pooja, what is the difference between offline
what
and
is your thoughts? Yeah, which one will be the best?
there is no differentiation as such. It is all about, an idea and execution. So any online startup for that matter, look at Amazon. So it started as a bookseller and now it is giving you all sorts of physical goods as well as, online services. So there is no differentiation. There could be different kind of channels. So there are certain businesses which are inherently online only. There are certain businesses, if you talk about, IT services, for example, but there are certain businesses which actually require you to deliver a physical good and services, but through online mode. So you can have a purely online startup, you can have a hybrid online plus offline startup, or you can have a purely offline. But then technology has to be leveraged. I'll give you the example of Dehat, which is a Bihar bred startup, and the founders are from IT. And they have actually provided inputs to the farmers. They have aggregated the farmers. They have given them advices and mentorship on the cropping, on fertilizer, on use of improved seeds, etc. Even change in crops. And then they are kind of procuring from them and helping them reach out the market. So it's a purely offline kind of a service which they are giving because they are working with farmers and the farm produce. However, their entire platform is on a very, very robust IT model wherein they are leveraging technology, digital technology to provide these services. So if it is aggregation or if it is even identification and sorting and grading of the grains and everything, that's the model that they are depending on. So it can be a very judicious mix of both the things. Thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the great explanation. Does any of our attendees have any queries? You can even unmute your microphone and you can ask directly to our speaker.
So either the things are very clear or people have not understood the message. So either of the two.
Yes, ma'am. So one of the participants also told it was a great presentation, like very well articulated and presented. He really enjoyed the session by Nikki Sinha.
Thank you, Nikki.
Okay, so I think if you have a couple of questions, you can even ask directly to our ma'am.
Yes,
if not, you can even ping me in WhatsApp or so that I can take the question to ma'am. So this will be very helpful, and this is one of the most important topic, Okay. So, ma'am, if there are some questions offline, I'll take you over there.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. So I think we can end up the session, and yes, ma'am.
Share an interesting anecdote. I'm invited to my college for giving a session. Session for the induction of the new joinees, the students, and there was also a session on innovation and entrepreneurship. So different students were putting across their different ideas. So one student gave an idea of coming up with a dating app, which it was not exactly a dating app, but it was something which would provide all the services which are associated with dating in terms of, a Valentine's Day's message or flowers or cards and everything. So everything outsourced. So, and that person was extremely happy with his idea. And but in the classroom itself, the idea was not validated by the girls. So the girls sitting there, they said that even if it is something which is giving everything, which is very good. However, if there is no personal touch, then it's not going to work. So this is how you get obsessed with an idea. However, in the first validation itself, your idea doesn't get that very important stakeholder validation, because for any app like this, you need to have two sides of every market. So if one side is kind of rejecting that idea, then of course it's going to succeed. There have been several examples through my career in which I saw that founders generally get obsessed with the solution that they are providing rather than getting obsessed with the problem with which they started originally. So that has to be kept in mind. Never fall in love with the solution. Always fall in love with the problem that you have, that you originally set out to solve.
That's really a great thought, ma'am. Thank you for sharing with us. Now I would request all the participants to turn on your cameras. So let's take a group picture with our speaker. Yeah, it's done. Okay, so yeah, it's done. Thank you all for turning on your cameras. Okay, then, so shall we move on to the closing note? Before I would share a few words on closing, I would like to thank you a lot, ma'am, because with the help of Divyanshu Verma sir, like we came across you. It was a great networking thing, So, sorry, ma'am?
That's the power of networking.
Yes, that's very true, ma'am. So since we have recorded the session and it's also been live, I'll share you the links of the recordings and we'll also share this video to Divyanshu sir. Due to some personal circumstance, he couldn't attend the session, but he was actually very eager for your session. So I'll definitely share your recording with him. Nitya ma'am, would you like to say a few words on today's session to Anubha ma'am?
No, it was very nice session. I was till the starting point, and you gave us a great insight on how we could proceed further. We are thinking of making a startup. Thank you so much for your presence, ma'am.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, ma'am. So let me give upon the closing note. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the amazing session on how to build a startup. This is one of the most important topic for all the people who are starting and also who are unaware of the outside world. For example, changing the consumer needs and also on what's next normal. It's mostly with respect to the shopping, entertainment purpose, learning, work, and many more things. And you have very well explained us with a lot of examples, which are live examples. So that's really appreciated, ma'am. And since the session was so interesting, we will also have a session too in the upcoming days. So we will update you on this, ma'am. And thanks a lot for the amazing session, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And with your permission, can we share your presentation to our participants?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, thank you so much.
I'm leaving the meeting now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.